Look, I'll be completely real with you. Quarter one had its moments, there were a couple of solid drops, but overall, it felt like a lot of waiting, a lot of overpromising, and yeah, a few games that probably should have stayed in the oven just a little bit longer. So I'm not gonna do that this time. I'm not here to fake hype games that might launch broken, unfinished, or straight up just mid. We're keeping it honest. Today, we're breaking down the entire quarter two 2026 lineup, April, May, and all the wild cards to figure out what actually looks fun, what's worth your time, and what might end up just being background noise. Some of these could be huge, and some of these, well, we'll forget about in a week. So grab a snack, get comfortable, and let's get into it. All right, April is kind of all over the place, but in a good way. Right out of the gate on April 2nd, we've got Darwin's Paradox. This is one of those games that's been floating around for a while, and every time you see it, you're like, wait, what is this? Got that experimental, slightly confusing vibe that either turns into a cult classic or just completely disappears. Into games that mess with your head and don't hold your hand, this might be your thing. Me, I'm cautiously curious. But mid-April is where things actually start heating up. April 16th gives us Mouse PI for Hire, and I'm not gonna lie, this one surprised me. The 1930s rubber hose cartoon art style mixed with an FPS is such a wild combo, but it works. Got that old school animation vibe, but the gameplay looks fast, chaotic, and honestly just fun. This is the kind of game that doesn't take itself too seriously, and sometimes it's exactly what we need. Then we've got Pragmata landing somewhere between April 17th and the 24th, and wow, talk about a game that's been in development forever. Capcom has been cooking this for so long, I almost forgot it existed. At this point, I'm keeping my expectation in check, but if the gameplay actually matches the trailers, this could be a massive W for quarter two, like sleeper game of the year contender if they really pull it off. And then, yeah, the grind is back. April 28th, Diablo 4 Lord of Hatred. Look, I already know how this is going to go. I'm going to say I'm not going to play it like that, and then suddenly it's 3 a.m., I'm chasing loot drops and questioning my life choices. If you play Diablo, you already know it's a cycle, and a very dangerous one. So be honest, are we grinding this together, or are we finally escaping? Now, moving into May, this is where the big names start showing up. May 12th, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle hits the Nintendo Switch 2, and honestly, this might be one of the most interesting releases of the quarter, not because it's new, but because of how people are going to play it. If you missed it on PC or console, playing this handheld could actually be the move. There's something about having a cinematic, story-driven game like this on the go that just hits different. The only question is performance. Can the Switch 2 handle it without turning into a slideshow? If it runs clean, this could be a huge win. Then, on May 19th, we've got Forza Horizon 6 dropping on PC and Xbox. Now, I'm not even the biggest racing fan, but the Horizon series, they don't miss. It's not just racing, it's vibes. You throw on some music, pick a car, and just drive. No stress, no pressure, unless you're trying to flex online, of course. And they're also dropping an American Classics DLC around the same time, which means we're getting those loud, heavy muscle cars. You already know, this is going to be one of those updates where everyone suddenly becomes a car expert overnight. So yeah, May is looking pretty solid, not overwhelming, but definitely some quality. Now let's talk about the real wild cards, the games with no exact release date yet. And honestly, this is where things get very interesting. First up, Control Resonant. If you played the first Control or Alan Wake 2, you already know Remedy doesn't miss when it comes to atmosphere. Their games are weird in the best possible way. Reality bending mechanics, creepy environments, and the signature storytelling style. This is easily one of the most intriguing titles of all of quarter two for me. Then we've got Shadow Man Dark Legacy. This one's bringing back a classic, but it's not just nostalgia bait. It actually looks dark, gritty, and modernized in a way that could really work. If they nail the tone and gameplay, this could pull in both old fans and new players. And of course, for the strategy crowd, Warhammer 40k Mechanicus 2 is on the way. If you're into Warhammer, you already know there's always something dropping. But Mechanicus is a solid reputation, so the sequel could quietly be one of the best strategy games of the entire quarter. But my personal sleeper hit, with no question, is Mariachi Legends. This game looks absolutely incredible. It's a 2D action platformer set in fictional Mexico, blending cyberpunk aesthetics with Mexican folklore. Pixel art is clean, the combat looks fast and satisfying, and it's got that indie energy where you can tell the devs really care. This is exactly the type of game that comes out of nowhere and suddenly everyone's talking about it. Don't sleep on this one. Alright, before we wrap up, we gotta talk about DLCs, because let's be honest, not all DLC is worth your time. But some of this actually matters. If you're still on Borderlands 4, they're dropping a free raid boss and a free takedown, plus paid bounty pack 3. And you already know what that means. Pure chaos. Raid bosses in Borderlands are never chill. It's always explosions, clutch moments, and someone getting absolutely wiped, which is probably going to be me. And then we've got Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 with the Loose Cannon expansion. If you're more into story-driven experiences, this one is one to watch. The world has so much potential, and if they expand it the right way, this could really pull players back in. So yeah, DLC isn't always exciting, but when it's done right, it can completely revive a game. And that's the quarter two roster. No fluff, just what's actually on the horizon. From indie wildcards to major releases, there's definitely some potential here, but also a lot of question marks. So now I gotta ask you, what are you actually spending your money on? Are you grinding Diablo, cruising in Forza, or taking a chance on something like Mariachi Legends? Drop a comment, let's talk about it, and keep it real. I'll catch you guys in the next one.